The end times have begun, and what God showed me will leave you speechless. These aren't just random events, but signs and prophecies unfolding before our very eyes. From natural disasters to divine warnings, everything we've known is shifting. This is the moment we've been waiting for, and you won't believe what's coming next. Don't miss out. What's happening now will change your life forever. The choice is yours. Are you ready to embrace what's ahead, or will you be left behind? Vision of the future. In 2025, a vision was revealed to me, one that shook me to my core. It was not just a fleeting thought or a dream, it was a vivid experience that brought an overwhelming sense of urgency and awe. What I saw was a world in transition, where everything we know is about to change. The skies, once clear, were now marred by ominous clouds, signaling the beginning of a new era. Natural disasters ravaged the earth, but this wasn't the result of random chaos. It felt orchestrated. I saw communities torn apart, economies crumbling, and nations grappling with forces they could not control. It was as if the world was on the brink of an irreversible shift, and there was no going back. What struck me the most was the overwhelming feeling that this was not just human-made or politically driven. There was a divine presence behind it all, a force that was setting things into motion. It wasn't about the end of the world as we know it, but the beginning of something much bigger, something more profound. The signs were undeniable, and they were happening right now. I could feel the weight of it. This vision was a message, one I had to share. The time to prepare is now. Signs of the end. As the vision continued, the signs of the end times became clearer, each one more intense than the last. It wasn't just a single event. It was a series of interconnected happenings that couldn't be ignored. The first sign that stood out was the global unrest. Protests, riots, and civil disturbances erupted across the world, not over political ideologies, but over deeper, more primal fears. People were scared of what was coming, and yet they didn't fully understand it. Then came the strange weather patterns. Unpredictable storms, wildfires, and floods seemed to appear without warning. Places that were once safe from natural disasters now found themselves at the mercy of nature's fury. It wasn't random, but deliberate, a sign that something greater was unfolding. In the vision, I saw people praying for mercy, but the storms continued. The world seemed to be buckling under the weight of its own existence. And amidst the chaos, technology, once a symbol of progress, began to turn against us. Systems failed. The power grids flickered and shut down. The interconnected world we had built was slowly falling apart, piece by piece. The signs were undeniable. The end was no longer a distant future. It was now. This wasn't just about destruction. It was about transformation. A world that once stood on solid ground was now being shaken to its very core. Divine warnings. In the midst of the chaos, a voice broke through, calm yet commanding, echoing a warning that could not be ignored. It wasn't a voice from the people, the governments, or the media. It was a divine message, clear and direct. As I listened, I understood that these events weren't just random or accidental. They were part of a greater plan, one that had been set into motion long ago. The warning was urgent. It spoke of the need to turn back to what truly matters. In the vision, I saw people turning to material wealth, power, and status, but none of it could shield them from what was coming. The world had grown too focused on the wrong things. The message was clear. Society had lost its way, and now the consequences were unfolding before our eyes. I saw moments of reflection, where people realized that their actions had led them to this point. The divine voice urged repentance, humility, and a return to compassion. The signs were not just natural disasters, but spiritual ones. The earth was reacting to the moral decay that had taken root. This was not just about survival, but about redemption. The warning was not just a message of doom, but a call to action. It was time to change course, to realign ourselves with what truly matters before it was too late. The divine had spoken, and now the choice was ours. Prophecies unfolding. As the vision progressed, the prophecies that had been whispered through generations began to unfold before my eyes. These weren't just stories or myths. They were detailed blueprints of events that would shape the future of humanity. I could see the faces of those who had spoken these words long ago, prophets, seers, and sages, and their predictions were coming to pass. One prophecy stood out above the rest: the rise of a global crisis unlike any the world had seen before. Nations would no longer be able to stand on their own. The division would deepen. What was once a shared dream of peace and prosperity had been replaced by suspicion, greed, and fear. The vision revealed a world struggling to survive in the wake of its own mistakes, grappling with the consequences of a broken system. I saw the collapse of once mighty empires, political systems, financial institutions, and social orders crumbling like towers of sand. People would look to leaders, but they would not find the answers they sought. The world would search for hope, but it would be elusive. The most chilling aspect of the prophecy was the realization that no matter how hard humanity tried to fight against the inevitable, they could not stop it. The prophecies were not simply warnings. They were a glimpse into a fate that was sealed. Yet within the chaos, there remained a glimmer of hope, a choice that could still be made. It was up to us to decide how we would respond to the unfolding reality. Would we succumb to fear, or would we rise to the challenge? Unexpected revelations. As the vision continued, unexpected revelations flooded my mind, shaking everything I thought I knew about the world. It was as if the veil had been lifted, and I was seeing not just the future, but the hidden forces that had shaped it all along. These revelations weren't about the destruction we were witnessing. They were about the forces pulling the strings behind the scenes. I saw that the chaos and confusion we were experiencing were not merely the result of human actions or mistakes. There were unseen powers at play, manipulating events from the shadows. These were the true architects of the end times, orchestrating the fall of empires, the collapse of economies, and the breakdown of societies. The people at the top of the world's power structures, once thought to be in control, were themselves being led by these hidden forces. The vision revealed how deeply entrenched corruption had become within the very systems meant to protect and serve humanity. Governments, corporations, and even religious institutions were all caught in a web of deceit and manipulation. What seemed like random events were actually part of a larger, more intricate plan, one that had been carefully crafted for centuries. And yet, within these revelations, there was a shocking truth. We were not entirely powerless. Despite the darkness and manipulation, there was still a chance for redemption. A choice could still be made. The vision made it clear. This was not the end, but a new beginning. The question was, would we recognize it in time? The shift begins. The moment of change had arrived, and the shift was undeniable. What I saw was a world on the precipice of transformation, one that had been slowly building for years, but would now unfold at a speed and intensity no one could predict. The systems that once held the world together, finance, politics, religion, were beginning to fracture, and new forces were rising to take their place. In the vision, I saw people waking up, slowly but surely, to the truth of what was happening around them. The old ways of thinking, of relying on outdated systems and structures, were no longer working. People began to question everything, what they had been taught, what they had believed, and what they had accepted as truth. The veil of illusion was lifting, and what lay beyond was both terrifying and enlightening. The shift wasn't just about external changes. It was a profound internal shift as well. I saw individuals awakening to their own power, their own ability to shape the world around them. People started to see beyond the surface, recognizing the deep interconnectedness of all things. The awareness that had been dormant for so long was now rising to the surface, and with it came the realization that the world could be reshaped, not by force, but by a collective shift in consciousness. The shift had begun, and though it was filled with uncertainty and fear, it also held the potential for a new world, one built on truth, compassion, and unity. But only if we were willing to embrace it. The choice was no longer a matter of survival. It was a matter of transformation. And it all began now. As the vision reached its climax, a powerful call to action echoed through my soul, urging me and all of us to rise above the chaos and be the change the world desperately needed. The end times were not just a series of events unfolding on a global scale. They were an opportunity to step into a new way of being. This was the defining moment for humanity, a moment to choose between fear and hope, destruction and renewal. What I saw was clear. In the face of crisis, there was still a chance to create something greater. But it would take action. It would require each individual to take responsibility for their role in shaping the future. No longer could we wait for someone else to lead the way. The time had come to act. I saw groups of people coming together, not out of fear, but out of a shared desire for change. Communities began to form, not based on division, but on common purpose. People put aside their differences, realizing that their survival depended on unity, compassion, and understanding. The divine message was not just about survival. It was about flourishing in the midst of adversity, about transcending the limitations we had imposed on ourselves. The vision was clear. The world could be saved, but only if we embraced the call to action. Each step we take, each choice we make, has the power to change the course of history. The end times were not just an end, they were the beginning of something extraordinary. But it was up to us to answer the call. The time for action is now. What God has revealed is just the beginning, and the world is on the brink of transformation. But there's more. Prepare yourself for what's coming next. In our upcoming video, Chosen One, you won't believe what God is about to release into your life. Swing. We will dive deeper into the divine blessings waiting for you. Don't miss out on this life-changing revelation. Subscribe now to stay ahead and be part of the extraordinary journey ahead. You won't want to miss it.